We are recording. Start. I don't have the script up.
Nor. It's going to be tough to freestyle rap the intro this time around. So if you don't have the script.
Hold up. Well, it's not freestyle if I've got the script. That's at least good.
I don't listen to rap, so I don't know.
I don't know either. Really? You think we don't listen to rap? I'm sorry. I know we've shocked everyone. I was actually going to try and do it. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. That's my music.
Did you ever listen to the Lord of the Rings musical?
No. Send a link. I need to hear. I'm not a musical person. The only musicals that I know is Lion King, and even then, the stage music is not my favorite.
Haven't we literally broken into song on this very podcast?
Okay, yes, I am a musical person, but I'm not a musical. I'm not a musical theater. I'm not a theater kid. She can't even think of words now. So is that really gonna? No. Okay, let's. Hello
and welcome
to the No One Asked You podcast.
For this particular series,
I am joined by
my wonderful co-host,
ThatDarnKitteh.
Kitteh and I are both going into this story completely new with almost no knowledge of the story or world.
Each segment we intend to cover what happens in each new chapter and discuss our experience along the way.
This is Mistborn Abridged, a blind read-through, and today we will be covering Chapter 33!
Chapter 33! Oh my gosh, you have to do that every single time. Listen, why have we used my silly voice for the This is Mistborn Abridged part? That's so... okay, sorry. That's changing.
Before we even get into the front loading, I had an absolutely wild theory that I don't think is in any way substantiated, but I'm going to share it because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had an observation. I think Brandon Sanderson was doing something literary in a previous chapter that I just want to bring up as food for thought if anyone has any insight to share on the matter. Okay, so wild theory. Vin was convinced that the gold shadow she saw was real.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what if Kelsier is a gold shadow of the Lord Ruler? Because Gray, when we did our fan casting, refused to do a casting for the Lord Ruler. What if he didn't because he couldn't, because it would have to be the same actor?
Yeah. Look, that would be cool. Like, because I'm thinking that I can see now why you actually thought that was okay. Because you didn't when you told me this theory, you just dropped it and left, and you didn't. you didn't tell me the Gray thing, but that is so true. But then again, like look in world, I'm sure everybody would know what the Lord Ruler looks like. So
yes,
yeah, we would know that. They would be like, oh, it looks like Kelsier. But either way, on top of if we remove that, just even so, okay, not in reality, it's still a very good parallel to draw, because we've been comparing the Lord Ruler and Kelsier the whole way through. Especially, we've been wondering about Dark Kelsier, and Kelsier could have been the hero, but we can see how corruptible things happen, and that even if it isn't in reality, it's a meta conversation to be had, that Kelsier is like a gold shadow person, or what do you call it? Gold reflection person of the Lord Ruler.
A version that could have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although we are also in the process of always going, Kelsier, don't lose it. So there's lots of turning points that can turn him into the next Lord Ruler.
that had me thinking about gold, and I was reflecting on the last Venture Ball and my comment on Vin's white dress and Ellen's gold ring. And then I made the association of gold. Gold is the introspective metal, the metal that can potentially self-actualize you, make you think. And I associated that with Ellen's philosophicalness and his introspective personality. So I was just wondering if you or anyone listening to this has any insight on whether or not Brandon Sanderson was alluding to something or trying to make that parallel, or what? What do you think of this topic?
Is this Chekhov's ring? Is something going to happen with that ring?
I doubt it.
That's what I was. No, but you're just saying just like he's being symbolic, and that's what he's trying. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Ellen can burn gold or anything like that either. I'm just commenting on the symbolism. Yeah.
Look, also just part of fun discussion. There would be, logically, don't you think? We've got the specialized mistings, right? So I wonder if there are specialized gold burning mistings, and I don't know that they have some very powerful use for this.
And I say so curious.
Like there's just it stands to reason that it's a very rare thing that you don't even nobody really even uses a gold misting, but there's no word for it. What is a gold misting? Or can Mistborn
they go and live in a cave in a constant state of meditation.
Just have the gold. But I'm just thinking, but then again, maybe
gold huffer.
maybe is this just sorry, because allomancy wise, can Mistborn only access those the last few metals? Is that the thing?
I think that's the case, isn't it?
Yeah. So then it doesn't make sense. Then there's no such thing as a gold mystic.
Yeah. That we know of.
Right.
Okay. Front load the chapter. We get a safe house.
A safe house, but we don't stay safe for very long. The house is fine. Everybody else.
We get everyone on the same page. We get a boss fight, not a mini boss fight, but and not a final boss fight. I'm assuming that's going to be the Lord Ruler, but we get a boss fight. And
very thrilling, and there is some actually there's a lot of philosophical questions and things that we will have discussions around it.
Vin gets a stern talking to, and I think it's a necessary one.
It's Vin is not on this. Vin is actually not on the same page, and then he's just like, no. Everyone brings her forward, and is like, listen, come on. But what else? Oh, we have
Ellen is really really dumb.
Yeah, shameless, and he tried. You know what? I think that means that he cares about her. Okay, doing stupid stuff.
Yeah,
it comes along with the territory of caring about someone, unfortunately.
Yeah. And just to keep everyone on their toes, I will say there was one thing that I was slightly annoyed about with this chapter. Stay tuned to hear what it is. No, it's a very, very good chapter. I'm just going to nitpick something when we get to it.
You'll never believe what it is. Sorry, I just thought of the clickbaitiness that you've just done. Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it, shall we?
Shall we? We shall.
We're close now. Oddly, this high in the mountains, we seem to finally be free from the oppressive touch of the deepness. It has been quite a while since I knew what that was like. The lake that Fedek discovered is below us now. I can see it from the ledge. It looks even more eerie from up here, with its glassy, almost metallic sheen. I almost wish I had let him take a sample of its waters. Perhaps his interest was what angered the mist creature that follows us. Perhaps. That was why it decided to attack him, stabbing him with its invisible knife. Strangely, the attack comforted me. At least I know that another has seen it. That means I'm not mad.
What did you make of this metallic surface? Is that in like a portal that the deepness can use? Because you think the deepness is like Cthulhu, so it's going to just come out of water.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was going to be the first thing I brought up. I'm imagining white everywhere, snow everywhere. And I really see that metallic sheen. It makes me wonder if it's not just water. I know the Cosmere is a thing, but I know virtually nothing about it. I'm wondering if it's connected to the Cosmere.
That would be cool.
Yeah, and I was wondering if maybe like this is not a source of atium, but yeah, like I'm wondering, does the Lord Ruler take some of this metallic looking water and like he places it at where the pits are, and like it's that water that grows the atium maybe?
Yeah, that actually, wow, that makes sense. I didn't make that connection, but just considering the way atium looks and that it's like from crystals they become geodes. That some sort of reaction could have caused that. That's what atium has. Yeah.
And clearly there's a guardian of the waters.
Yes. Invisible
it doesn't want the waters being removed.
And there's these creatures all of a sudden. Well, all of a sudden, but there's more of these creatures. So also just that makes me wonder, like mist wraiths and things like that. Those initially, what my thing was, the deepness, the fight that happened created these things as like a backlash. But that was from my Wheel of Time framing. But actually, it seems like these things existed. Just nobody was around it. Nobody was messing with them. And now whatever did happen now just has exacerbated that, I suppose. Or maybe it altered these creatures. I don't know. What do you think that creature would be?
I don't know. There is not nearly enough information yet. But I do suspect that the Lord Ruler, when he does whatever it is that he does, grants him some degree of power over it or them. Maybe,
yeah. Gosh, and we're so far from knowing. Okay, like really. Okay, we are not far from the end of the book, but there's so much about this world that is to be revealed to us, and I know it ain't gonna all come out by the end of this book.
Yep.
Thank you, Epigraph, for doing the same thing you do every week. Make us speculate about the world, and then we don't know. Thank you.
Indeed. On to the chapter, then.
On to the chapter. So that's it for the plan, I mean.
Ham shrugged. If the Inquisitors broke Marsh, that means they know everything, or at least they know enough. They'll know that we plan to strike the palace and that we're going to use the house war as a cover. We'll never get the Lord Ruler out of the city now, and we'll certainly never get him to send the palace guard into the city. It doesn't look good, Vin. Vin sat quietly, digesting the information. Ham sat cross-legged on the dirty floor, leaning against the bricks of the far wall. The pack-up lair was a dank cellar with only 3 rooms, and the air smelled of dirt and ash. Club's apprentices took up one room, though Dachshund had sent away all of the other servants before coming to the safe house. Breeze stood by the far wall. He occasionally shot uncomfortable looks at the dirty floor and dusty stools, but then decided to remain standing. Vin didn't see why he bothered. It was going to be impossible to keep his suits clean while living in what was essentially a pit in the ground. Breeze wasn't the only one taking their self-imposed captivity resentfully. Vin had heard several of the apprentices grumble that they'd almost rather have been taken by the ministry. Yet during their 2 days in the cellar, everyone had stayed in the safe house except when absolutely necessary. They understood the danger. Marsh could have given the Inquisitors descriptions and aliases for each crew member. Breeze shook his head. Perhaps, gentlemen, it is time to pack up this operation. We tried hard, and considering the fact that our original plan, gathering the army, ended so dreadfully, I'd say that we've done quite a marvelous job. Dachshund sighed. Well, we certainly can't live off saved funds for much longer, especially if Kel keeps giving our money away to the Ska. So at this point, I had like this strong intuition, which ended up being wrong, that Vin was somehow going to rally the troops, so to speak.
Would you give her a moment, or like, like a character growth moment?
Yes. And this is slightly going to lean into what my complaint is when we get to it. But there wasn't like any judgment that that's not what happened or anything like that. I was just like reading it and absorbing it as we were going. I just observed that was a thought in my mind or some sort of expectation.
Okay.
But do you have anything to say on that segment before I continue?
No, you can continue, Father.
Dachshund sat beside the table that was the room's only piece of furniture, his most important ledgers, notes, and contracts organized into neat piles before him. He had been remarkably efficient at gathering every bit of paper that could have incriminated the crew or given further information about their plan. I, for one, am looking forward to a change. This has all been fun, delightful, and all of those other fulfilling emotions, but working with Kelsia can be a bit draining.
You're not going to stay on this crew?
It depends on his next job. We aren't like other crews you've known. We work as we please, not because we are told to. It pays for us to be discerning in the jobs we take. The rewards are great, but so are the risks. Ham smiled, resting with his arms behind his head, completely unconcerned about the dirt. It kind of makes you wonder how we ended up on this particular job, eh? Very high risk, very little reward. None, actually. We'll never get that at him now. Kelsia's words about altruism and working to help the Scar were all well and good, but I was always hoping that we'd still get to take a swipe at that treasury. True, but was it worth it anyway? The work we did, the things we accomplished? Breeze and Ham looked at each other, then they both nodded. And that's why we stayed. Kel said it himself. He picked us because he knew we would try something a little different to accomplish a worthwhile goal. You're good men. Even you, Breeze. Stop scowling at me. Vin smiled at the familiar banter. And familiar banter is the perfect way of putting that, because that's very much how I felt about what all of this segment was.
Yeah. Them being the usual stuff that we love, that gave us warm fuzzies early on in the book.
Yes. There was a sense of mourning regarding Marsh, but these were men who knew how to move on despite their losses. In that way, they really were like Ska after all. A house war, Ham said, idly smiling to himself. How many noblemen dead, do you think? Hundreds, at least, all killed by their own great and noble hands. I'll admit that I had my doubts about this entire fiasco, but the interruption in trade this will cause, not to mention the disorder in the government, well, you're right, Dachshund. It was worth it. Indeed, Ham said, mimicking Breeze's stuffy voice.
I'm going to miss them. Maybe Kelsia will take me with him on his next job.
I loved that. I love this. Like, if it ended right here, right now, and they all went their separate ways, you can see Kelsier walking off into the mists, a little Vin following behind.
Yeah, that's exactly you're making it funny, but no, really, that is what I was thinking of. That is the kind of thing where it's just like Vin will definitely stay with Kelsia. That's sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Vin is Kelsia's. Kelsia is. You know what I'm trying to say. They belong to one another. Yes.
Yeah, there's a special bond. The stairs rattled and Vin moved reflexively back into the shadows. The splintery door opened and a familiar black-clothed form strode in. He carried his mist cloak over his arm and his face looked incredibly wearied.
Kelsia!
Hello, all.
I know that tiredness. Pewter drag. Where has he been?
You're late, Kel. I strive for nothing if not consistency, Kelsier said, dropping his mist cloak on the floor, stretching, then sitting down. Where are Clubs and Spook? Clubs is sleeping in the back room. Spook went with Renault. We figured you'd want them to have our best tonight to keep a watch. Good idea, Kelsier said, letting out a deep sigh and closing his eyes as he leaned against the wall. My dear man, you look Terrible. It's not as bad as it looks. I took it easy coming back. Even stopped to sleep for a few hours on the way. Yes, but where were you? We've been worried sick that you were out doing something, well, stupid. Actually, we took it for granted that you were doing something stupid. We've just been wondering how stupid this particular event would turn out to be. So what is it? Did you assassinate the Lord Prelin? Slaughter dozens of noblemen? Steal the cloak off the Lord Ruler's own back? I destroyed the pits of Hathson. The room fell into a stunned silence. What did you think of that?
I loved it. It was beautiful. I loved it because just like, oh yeah, I loved Breeze's response because I was like, yes, yes, yes. I enjoyed that. I was like, that, you know what? That's exactly how they would react, because they'd be like, look, he's doing something stupid. We know. And I love that just the joke of like, yeah, we knew it would be stupid. We just didn't know how stupid. So I was enjoying that. And then Kelsey's like, fine, hold my beer. And then he winds him. Oh God, it's great.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, that is how do you deliver that news in any way? Like, you know what? Yeah, here we go. What you gonna make of that, Breeze? And I love it. And you?
And I loved it. Thought it was great. Everything you just said, honestly. You'd think that by now we'd have learned not to underestimate him. Destroyed them? How do you destroy the pits of Hathson? They're a bunch of cracks in the ground. Well, I didn't actually destroy the pits themselves. I only shattered the crystals that produce atium geodes. All of them! All of them that I could find. And that was several hundred pockets worth. It was actually a lot easier to get around down there now that I have allomancy.
Crystals?
Atium crystals, Vin. They produce the geodes. I don't think anyone actually knows how, that have atium beads at the center. The crystals are why the Lord Ruler can't simply send down allomancers to pull out the atium geodes. Using some types of allomancy near the crystals makes them shatter, and it takes centuries for them to grow back.
Okay, hold up. So remember, one of our things that we noticed between my edition and your edition. I actually think earlier on mine said some types of allomancy and yours said allomancy.
Yes.
Okay, so now this time mine says using allomancy near the crystals makes them shatter. So
and mine says using some types.
Yeah. So
weird.
That's interesting. Yeah, so it's like, okay, I guess it's an interchangeable thing. We're just going to assume it's all allomancy, but no, I don't know. I'm still like, no, why'd you say some types?
My understanding, and I think we asked the audience, the viewers. Hi, viewers.
Hi.
In the last episode or something. But my understanding from the actual Pits of Hathson segment was that it's some types. It's just when he tries to pull them is what I thought.
Exactly. So it's good. Yeah, it doesn't, like if you burned gold there, nothing really would happen. It's more about maybe it's like pulling metals and things like that, things that are external. Either way, it doesn't matter because he's done it now. It's just a curiosity. I just noticed. Anyway, off we go.
All right. Centuries during which they won't produce atium.
And so
I pretty much ended atium production in the Final Empire for the next 300 years or so.
Elend, House Venture. They're in charge of the pits. How will the Lord Ruler react when he finds out about this?
You madman, Breeze said softly, eyes open wide. Atium is the foundation of the imperial economy. Controlling it is one of the main ways that the Lord Ruler maintains his hold over the nobility. We may not get to his reserves, but this will eventually have the same effect. You blessed lunatic! You blessed genius! Kelsier smiled wryly. I appreciate both compliments. Have the Inquisitors moved against Clubs' shop yet? Not that our watchmen have seen. Good. Maybe they didn't get Marsh to break. At the very least, maybe they don't realize that their soothing stations were compromised. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to sleep. We have a lot of planning to do tomorrow. The crew members exchanged silent glances. Planning? Kel, we were kind of thinking that we should pull out. We caused a house war and you just took out the imperial economy. With our cover and our plan compromised, well, you can't honestly expect us to do anything more, right? Kelsier smiled, staggering to his feet and moving into the back room. We'll talk tomorrow.
Man of mystery.
Indeed. Okay, so that last little chunk was actually the part that I didn't like about this chapter.
Okay.
And it's not that I had this expectation, but this intuition or perhaps hope that Vin would be the one to convince them to keep going. But it's more like, I think we've seen this formula play out now, 3 times? Things are going well. There's a hitch. The crew does not want to proceed. Kelsier convinces them to proceed. Things are going well again. There's a hitch. The crew does not want to proceed. Kelsier convinces them to proceed. And now I think this is the 3rd time that that's happened. So I was like, change up the formula just a little bit, please.
Yeah, I get you. Look, when I first read it, I was like, I think it's because I'm just in the, I know that this is how it goes, so I'm comfortable with it. And I didn't even think of Vin as an option, or someone
not
else.
Even Vin.
Yeah,
like after the execution scene, once they all got on the same page that they essentially were becoming freedom fighters and rebels instead of thieves, I would have loved to not even have Kelsier there and have all of them talking like, okay, so how are we going to plan this out? How are we going to continue? We're not giving up. That would have, I think, just sung. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Listen, I'm also I'm on your page now. I agree. It would have really been good. We would have lapped that up, because we would have noticed that or at least you would have noticed the pattern and going, look how he changed it up here. Maybe it happens at some other point, but yeah. Oh look, we do have the difference in this chapter. We do have something else different, but it would have been so much better. Actually, it would have made the rest of their actions also sing. That's actually the biggest. It's not a nitpick.
Criticism.
Yeah, it's a. I usually with the criticisms, I'm like, I can understand them, but I'm okay with what he did. Now with this one, I'm really like, oh, that would have been better. Oh, that would have been better. And maybe there's reasons that we'll find out. I don't know what these reasons could be. Maybe we'll retroactively just have something to say about this. But yeah, damn, that's making me like, it would have been better.
Missed opportunity.
Yes, missed opportunity. Missed opportunity.
And it's fun. It's like, it's fine as it is, but
yes, that's not saying that it's horrible. It's just that would have been better. God damn it, why did you have to do that, man? I'm just going to think about it going forward. I like the way that you said that. It would have sung. Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, just I thought one of the things that you might comment on was, the way whenever they talk about Atium, like there's always it was one of your earlier things that you pointed out, that they repeat things in this book. So like controlling Atium basically is one of the main ways that the Lord Ruler maintains hold of over the nobility. We're used to that sort of repetition. And I was waiting for you to criticize that. But then I was just like, look, it makes sense when you're spelling out how crazy something is, that you go, here's the baseline, and you've actually broken a fundamental here. So it makes sense to repeat it because that's just how shocked you are. But yeah, that doesn't mean I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not the worst criticism. It's not as bad as yours. No, yours was very good.
Yeah. And I know I repeat myself, or certain themes of mine repeat, so I try not to dwell on things that I've said too much, unless it's like uniquely pertinent. Why, Kitteh? No, that's fine. Shall we continue?
Of course. What do you think he's planning, Sazed?
Vin asked, sitting on a stool beside the cellar's hearth as the terracemen prepared the afternoon meal. Kelsier had slept through the night and had yet to rise this afternoon. I really have no idea, mistress. Although this moment with the city so unbalanced does seem like the perfect opportunity to move against the final empire.
I suppose we could still seize the palace. That's what Kel always wanted to do. But if the Lord Ruler has been warned, the others don't see that happening. Plus, it doesn't seem like we have enough soldiers to do much in the city. Ham and Breeze never finished their recruiting.
Sazed shrugged.
Maybe Kelsier plans to do something about the Lord Ruler.
Perhaps.
Sazed, you collect legends, right?
As a keeper, I collect many things. Stories, legends, religions. When I was young, another keeper recited all of his knowledge to me so that I could store it and then add to it.
Have you ever heard about this 11th metal legend that Kelsier talks about?
Sazed shook his head. No, mistress. That legend was new to me when I heard it from Master Kelsier.
But he swears that it's true. And I believe him for some reason.
It is quite possible that there are legends that I haven't heard of. If the keepers knew everything, then why would we need to keep searching? Vin nodded, still a bit uncertain. Sazed continued to stir the soup. He seemed so dignified, even, while performing such a menial task. He stood in his steward's robes, unconcerned with how simple a service he was performing, easily taking over for the servants the crew had dismissed. Quick footsteps sounded on the stairs, and Vin perked up, sliding off her stool. Mistress?
Someone on the stairs,
Vin said, moving to the doorway. One of the apprentices, Vin thought his name was Tace, burst into the main room. Now that Lestaborn's was gone, Tace had become the crew's main lookout. People are gathering at the square, Tace said, gesturing toward the stairs. What's this? Doxson said, entering from the other room. People in the main fountain square, Master Doxson. Word on the street is that the obligators are planning more executions.
Retribution for the pits. That didn't take long.
Doxson's expression darkened. Go wick, kill. Okay, what'd you think of that?
At this point, I'm just like, oh god. Okay, yeah, I was with Vin on that. I'm just like, yeah, it's retribution for the pits. Cool. Here we go. It's just going to be more. I was with them on the assumption just of who it would be, just more randoms.
Has there any reason to theorize on where Kelsier may have heard about the 11th metal?
Yeah, I'm wondering. Like, there hasn't been any clues that I've. Like, could it have been from his master, the person who taught him?
That was like my thought earlier on, and then I was wondering if maybe it was found like near to where the Lord Ruler is in his epigraphs, high in the mountains, but I don't know if the timing works out for that between him being at Hathson and then training and then back to Luthadel. But the metallic sheen of the waters in this particular epigraph and the pearlescent color of the 11th metal.
Mm-hmm.
There is the fact that obviously these epigraphs are here for a reason. They're out of order, which means that they're probably connected to the chapter in some way. So that's what I'm wondering now.
Yeah. You know what actually just came to me when, because we're looking for Vin acting a bit differently or something like that. I was just focusing more on Vin's lines. And now I'm like, it sounds like Vin is thinking what we were saying is, remember we theorized that Vin would take the 11th metal and try it because she's worried about Kelsier trying it. So she'll just try and do it because she wants to help. She has this like deep need to help everybody in the crew, make herself valuable. So she might be thinking about this 11th metal and it's like, okay, well, we need to try it out soon. So I actually felt that theory come back in this conversation with Sazed.
Ooh, is she thinking about it?
Yeah, like that's made me go like, oh, so that's why she just wants to figure out a bit more about this 11th metal. Obviously, everybody should be thinking about that, or anybody who knows anything about Allomancy needs to be pondering that, and like they actually need to be working on it a lot more than just 11th metal exists. Like there needs to be some sort of proper discussion about it if we're going to use it.
Yeah.
Even just between her and Calcia. But it's, and also, do you believe what Calcia says about it? That's another thing. I guess we're both
100%. Yes, I do.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm thinking he had to have found this metal somewhere as well. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you as well. That it's just unknown as to how it happened, who told him about it.
It's unlikely that he would have found it from another keeper, because I believe that Kelsier would have told Sazed, hey, another keeper told me this. So the fact that Sazed doesn't say that here makes me think he found it elsewhere.
And I mean, also, have they not considered this metal? Like, have they not? I'm sure you've brought it up before that this could be a metal mine as well.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so it's like, what about that? They really have just left this on the back burner a lot. I mean, I know a lot's going on, but I think they just didn't want to tackle it. It's too impossible.
Yep.
On we go. Oh, also, just I will say a word here. I don't know about it's exactly foreshadowing, but knowing what happens in the rest of this chapter, the way that Lesterborn's sprinkled around, that's
I noticed that.
Great. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I intend to watch them, Kelsier said, walking through the room, dressed in simple ska clothing and cloak. Finn's stomach twisted.
Again?
You all may do as you wish, Kelsier said. He looked much better after his extended rest. His exhaustion was gone, replaced with the characteristic strength Finn had come to expect from him. The executions are probably a reaction to what I did at the pits. I'm going to watch those people's deaths, because indirectly, I caused them. What do you think? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, he did cause them. I understand his feeling. And he said the word indirectly, so he understands. It's not like a right there. But there are consequences. He knows there's consequences, but they are worth it.
Right. It's not your fault, Kel. It's all our faults. That doesn't make what we do wrong. However, if it weren't for us, these people wouldn't have to die. I, for one, think that the least we can do for these people is bear witness to their passing. What'd you make of that?
So, yeah, that was like, it's all of our faults. Like, I guess you can, in general, say that because, for fighting at all, okay? Challenging the final empire at all is going to cause death. So that's how it's everyone's fault, because we're doing this. But yeah, he made this decision all by himself, the decision to go to the pits and do what he did by himself. So yeah, it's more on him than everyone else in this particular instance. So it's not exactly inaccurate.
It's
new.
I think it sounds like a good line in the sense that this feels like, oh, look at Kelsier. He is so respectful here. I think we're supposed to admire him for saying this bit. I don't disagree. That doesn't make what we do wrong. Yeah, we understand what he's trying to do. We understand that the ska situation is an untenable one. That, like it or not, the Lord Ruler is just going to kill any ska, as many ska as he wants on a whim. So at what point are you willing to do what Kelsier does? I don't know that I have anything tremendously unique to say about the passage other than it feels like we are supposed to have some sort of strong reaction to the passage.
But you're saying that, but you not have it.
I feel like I don't know what I want to say about it. And I'm trying, I'm just like grasping right now.
I'm not in awe of Kelsier now at this. Like, I'm not feeling it either. And I can't tell you why. I'm just, you know what? Maybe this is because it's the same formula as before. Kelsier is the one that's leading this. That Kelsier is the one that's like, no, we have to go out and do this. Maybe that's what it is. It's the repetition of the formula that's made me go, okay, this is not This is not new to me. This is not exciting or epic. I'm just like, yeah, we've heard this beat before.
Yeah, I think that might be a part of it. I mean, it's yeah.
It's just, it didn't make me go, wow. So I'm not having powerful feelings about it because I've seen it before. But hey, look, consistency, at least that's happened.
Yeah. He pulled open the door, climbing the steps. Slowly, the rest of the crew followed him, though Clubs, Sawzed, and the apprentices remained with the safe house. Vin climbed the musty-aired steps, eventually joining the others on a grimy street in the middle of a ska slum. Ash fell from the sky, floating in lazy flakes. Kelsier was already walking down the street, and the rest of them, Breeze, Ham, Dachshund, and Vin, quickly moved to catch up with him. The safe house wasn't far from the Fountain Square. However, Kelsier stopped a few streets away from their destination. Dull-eyed Ska continued walking around them, jostling the crew. Bells rang in the distance. Kelsier cocked his head. Vin, you hear that? She closed her eyes, then flared her tin.
Focus. Like Spook said, cut through the shuffling feet and murmuring voices. Hear over the doors shutting and the people breathing. Listen. Horses.
She said, dampening her tin and opening her eyes.
And carriages.
Carts, Kelsier said, turning toward the side of the street. The prisoner carts. They're coming this way. He looked up at the buildings around him, then grabbed hold of a rain gutter and began to shimmy up a wall. Breeze rolled his eyes, nudging Dachshund and nodding toward the front of the building, but Vin and Ham, with Pewter, easily followed Kelsier up to the roof. There, Kelsier said, pointing at a street a short ways away. Vin could just barely make out a row of barred prison carts rolling toward the square. Now, at this point, I had an assumption.
Mm-hmm.
I knew who was in the cart. I just knew who.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't who ended up being in the cart. I knew that it was House Venture.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's because we just had that little beat of Vin going, what are they going to do to House Venture because of this? And it's all, we've had it set up in that way. Yeah. So if you're going to have an expectation, you're going to think, okay, we know it's going to be different. It's not going to be just a bunch of prisoners at the moment. Like now it feels like it's ramped up. So you're like, wait, we're going to have this moment. We know we're going to have a reveal here. And yeah, you could have Vin lose her mind because she sees that Ellen is in there. Yes.
Yep. And then you could have Kelsier have to make this choice. Wait a second. Am I going to save these noblemen? Oh, wait. Vin just ran in there. What do I do? There could have been so many cool, neat ways that it could have played out.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm not criticizing the choice not to. To be clear, just to make this distinction between what I said before and now, I was just talking about what I was like expecting, and we're having fun here.
Yeah, it would have been, listen, it would have been as, like, what happened now was just as juicy character-wise because of the way all of them feel and all of that we'll unpack that as we go now. But that would have also played out in the same way. There would have been the reverse, actually, where Vin is the one that wants to do stuff and everybody else is like, maybe not. So yeah, this is cool. Yeah. I like that. I like that, just that consideration, that we got to keep that in mind. It helps us actually go on to the next part of this and say, okay, what would it have been like if this was Elliot?
Yeah. Dachshund and Breeze came out onto the slanted rooftop through a window. Kelsier remained where he was, standing by the roof's edge, staring out at the prisoner carts. Kel, what are you thinking? We're still a short distance from the square. And the Inquisitors aren't riding with the prisoners. They'll come down from the palace like last time. There can't be more than 100 soldiers guarding those people. 100 men are plenty, Kel. Kelsier didn't seem to hear the words. He took another step forward, up onto the roof's edge. I can stop this. I can save them. Vin stepped up beside him.
Kel, there might not be many guards with the prisoners, but the Fountain Square is only a few blocks away. It's packed with soldiers, not to mention the Inquisitors.
Ham unexpectedly didn't back her up. He turned, glancing at Dachshund and Breeze. Dox shrugged.
Are you all crazy?
Wait a moment. I'm no Tin-Eye, but don't some of those prisoners look a bit too well dressed?
You must have
That
been,
was the
yeah.
line. I jumped I think I jumped the gun on the I know it's the venture portion, because that was the line that made me think it.
Yeah.
Kelsier froze, then he cursed. Without warning, he jumped off the rooftop, dropping to the street below.
Kel, what?
Then she paused, looking up in the red sunlight, watching the slowly approaching procession of carts. Through tin-enhanced eyes, she thought that she recognized someone sitting near the front of one of the carts. Spook.
Oh, that was a good reveal. Like, look, listen, it was good because you're like, no. And now that we had the little sprinkle of Lesterborns. Oh, Lesterborns was with Renault, blah blah blah, all of that.
Yep. So good. And it's important to note that Kelsier was prepared to try and save them, and the rest of the crew, save Vin, were ready to save the prisoners regardless, because they didn't know. Yeah, because they didn't know it was Spook until after they had all more or less made the decision to help.
Yeah. And now, question was, I don't think that it would have gone the same because Kelsier is on the edge of just doing this. The others are kind of in support of him. But if they figured out, if this had been House Venture, I think it wouldn't have gone as immediately as this. Like, Kelsier made the decision as soon as he saw it was Spook and Renault and all of that it was his people. He was already going to take action. If he had realized it was noblemen, I don't think it would have happened.
Yeah, which leads to the next question. If he saw that it was House Venture and Vin didn't see, do you think he would have tried to conceal it from Vin?
No, I don't think so. I just think it would be stupid. It would be way obvious, because if he tried to conceal it, it would just not work, because he's made this big thing that we need to now go out and see the people. And then he's like, you know what? I changed my mind. And Breeze is like, yeah, they're very well dressed. And then like Vin would have come up with it anyway. She would have been like, and then their reaction would have not made her. Yeah.
So Vin clearly does not want to save the prisoners.
She's
very minor spoiler alert, but she doesn't even want to save them after she knows it's Spook.
Yeah.
So if it were House Venture in there,
no, she wouldn't have done the same. I honestly think so. I think if it was Ellen, she would have done the snap decision like Kelsier and just been like, screw this. I think she would have done something reckless and stupid as well, the way Ellen does. Or at least she would have had to be constrained or something, but I don't know. That's what I'm trying to think. I honestly, I think it could go either way. I mean, what she has done here is decided they are lost. Done. It's as if they're dead already. She's not thinking already. She's already, because she's decided those prisoners are lost. Kelsier is thinking, I can save them. Everyone else is considering whether it's possible. It's not a possibility to her. What do you think? Do you think if it was Ellen, she would have changed her mind? Or I think she would at least have struggled.
Yeah, there would have been some emotional outburst of some kind, and I'm pretty sure the rest of the crew would have had to constrain her as best they could.
Yeah. I don't think the crew would be like, let's help him. Yeah. Yeah, drama ensued. I don't think that would have happened, and they would have been on the no, this is crazy side. That's such an interesting dynamic to be talking about. I'm very excited. I'm nerdgasm over here. Yeah.
Yay. Oh man, I had a thing and I lost it. Darn.
It's my fault.
No, it was not your fault.
Just interrupt us if it comes back.
Will do. Oh, yes, I got it. And this next moment of Vin and the realization, the emotional thing that she's about to go through, I think is pivotal for her getting over her everyone will betray me mentality. Because here is the crew not betraying Spook, or not leaving Spook.
Yeah, not even leaving, putting themselves in danger for him. You know, for them, like, I don't know how much they care about Renault, but Spook and the other people, it doesn't really matter if it's, I mean, we just care about main characters here, but yeah, it's not that we think the others are disposable. It makes sense. I love the growth that has to come, that Vin has to go through here. She has the lesson that she's learning here. It's so great. So that being said, of the earlier we're talking about Vin being the pushing, or someone else pushing the crew forward as opposed to Calcia, or with Calcia, would have been cool. But this is still really juicy stuff. This is still really, really great stuff.
So good.
Yeah.
Continue.
Calcia, what's going on?
Vin demanded, dashing down the street behind him. He slowed a bit. I saw Renault and Spook in that first cart. The Ministry must have hit Renault's canal caravan. The people in those cages are the servants, staff, and guards we hired to work at the mansion.
The canal procession. The Ministry must know Renault was fake. Marsh broke after all.
Behind them, Ham emerged from the building onto the street. Breeze and Dachshund were slower in coming. We have to work quickly.
Cal!
Vin said, grabbing his arm.
Calcia, you can't save them. They're too well guarded, and it's daylight in the middle of the city. You'll just get yourself killed.
He halted in the street, turning in Vin's grasp. He looked into her eyes, disappointed. When I read disappointed, I was like, ooh. When
I read disappointed, it was like if it was an anime or something, you know, like there would be like light behind him, and then as soon as you see his eyes, like, or him turn and look at her, it would just go dark. Like, you know,
There's Calcier's the father figure, and there is a moral failure here. There is disappointment is so heartbreaking.
Yeah, the meme exists of I'm not
mad, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, that exists for a reason. You don't want to hear that.
And then Calcier says, "You don't understand what this is all about, do you, Vin? You never did. I let you stop me once before on the hillside by the battlefield. Not this time. This time, I can do something."
But, yeah, and also just I was comparing them as we went through this again now, because I know that I knew the parallel was coming, and I'm like, yeah, it seems like that this is.
He couldn't have taken on an army. He was right to stop. Vin was right in that situation.
Yes. And in this situation, look, we are in the city. The Lord Ruler is here. Inquisitors. It is that bad. But also who you're saving is a small number of people. And yeah, you're just standing back. You're going to watch them. I don't know. It's different. It seems possible. It seems like, look, it's not easy. I know it's not easy. But I can understand him taking this risk.
Yeah.
And so you were also feeling this, Vin, come on, we don't have time for this. Were you disappointed in Vin? I wasn't.
I can appreciate a good, healthy caution in this moment, but I think it was reasonably set up that there is a chance at success here. And I think to a point it is in character for Vin to a point, but yeah, I wanted her to be like, no, we can't leave them behind.
Yeah, and this thought of if it was Ellen, I don't think she would be so sure. It does make me like, okay, so it has to be something a bit closer to you for you to think about it. Like, yeah.
And it was at this point that I thought, you know what, Spook? I think you can do better.
Yeah, exactly. Spook would be ready to help.
100%.
No comments in the chat about that, okay?
Oh, man. Okay, this time I can do something.
But
he shook his arm free. You still have some things to learn about friendship, Vin. I hope someday you realize what they are. Ooh, such a powerful line.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what we did get in this chapter, as much as we spoke about what could have happened, this is good. This is good stuff. Yes.
Then he took off, charging in the direction of the carts. Ham barreled past Vin, heading in a different direction, pushing his way through Ska on their way to the square. Vin stood stupidly for a few moments, standing in the falling ash as Dachshund caught up to her.
It's insanity. We can't do this, Dox. We're not invincible.
Dachshund snorted. We're not helpless either. Breeze puffed up behind them, pointing toward a side street. There! We need to get me to a place where I can see the soldiers. Even Breeze!
Yeah! Come on! He's huffing, he's running, bro!
It occurs to me, for my criticism earlier about how the crew could have all been, like how that earlier section would have sung had they all been like, okay, how are we going to move forward from here? Do you think if Brandon Sanderson had done that earlier, where we had talked about it, it would have undercut this moment? Or do you think that this moment is sufficiently different? I think it's sufficiently different such that it would not have undercut this moment.
Yeah. When you first brought up the idea of the alternative, I did consider, like, what would it have made these moments feel like? Because there was very much this contrast. Clearly, he wanted us to feel the contrast between Vin and the rest of the crew. He could have still done that with this and kept these moments in, and those would have sung as well. This actually would have sung. Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, I think it would have elevated this moment even more.
Yeah, obviously it would have. Then you wouldn't have. That's why we couldn't have Vin be the one to perk everybody up, because that just wouldn't make sense. If we had Vin like, we've got to fight, and then like the next thing she's like, never mind. So it just wouldn't. Exactly. That wouldn't have worked. But if it was, and you like we both agree, it didn't have to be Vin. So it could have been, Breeze or Ham or anything. Like they did have the usual. Oh look, we did win. We did get something. Like that's what they were doing. It would have been great to have had someone at least even subtly be trying to make us move forward. And it does seem like Vin asking these questions and stuff, that could have been part of her maybe trying to move them forward. But it seems like her questions and wanting the job to go forward is more about her wanting to stay with the crew. It's not so much about challenging the final empire. It seems it's more like, can't we just keep doing this though?
Yeah. Okay. Vin let them tow her along, suddenly feeling shame mixed with her worry.
Kelsier
tossed away a pair of empty vials, their contents ingested. The vials sparkled in the air beside him, falling to shatter against the cobblestones. He ducked through one final alleyway, bursting out onto an eerily empty thoroughfare. The prisoner carts rolled toward him, entering a small courtyard square formed by the intersection of two streets. Each rectangular vehicle was lined with bars. Each one was packed with people who were now distinctly familiar. Servants, soldiers, housekeepers. Some were rebels, many were ordinary people. None of them deserved death. Too many Ska have died already, he thought, flaring his metals. Hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands. Not today. No more. He dropped a coin and jumped, pushing himself through the air in a wide arc. Soldiers looked up, pointing. Kelsier landed directly in their center. There was a quiet moment as the soldiers turned in surprise. Kelsier crouched amid them, bits of ash falling from the sky. Then he pushed. He flared steel with a yell, standing and pushing outward. The burst of allomantic power hurled soldiers away by their breastplates, tossing a dozen men into the air, sending them crashing into companions and walls. Men screamed. Kelsier spun, pushing against a group of soldiers and sending himself flying toward a prisoner cart. Flaring his pewter, he smashed into it and grabbed the metal door with his hands. Prisoners huddled back in surprise. His pewter still flared. Kelsier ripped the door free with a burst of power, then tossed it toward a group of approaching soldiers. Go! He told the prisoners, jumping down and landing lightly in the street. He spun and came face to face with a tall figure wearing a brown robe. Kelsier stepped back as the tall form reached up, lowering his hood, revealing a pair of eyes impaled by spikes. The Inquisitor smiled, and Kelsier heard footsteps approaching down side alleyways. Dozens. Hundreds.
Ooh. That's right. But you're not angry. I don't know. I'm not angry with Kelsier for this. I'm not like, oh, reckless Kelsier, horrible Kelsier. I'm just like, you're like I enjoyed how epic.
What else is he gonna do?
Yeah, it's just like he just can't stand back anymore. That's why he's like, I'm done. I can't. Like, he was gonna stand back and, you know, at least watch their deaths, but maybe he actually, even so, he was gonna watch the death. Then he's like, oh, they're close by, so I can do something. Then what pushes him over the edge is that it's his people. So yeah, maybe this would have happened anyway.
Yep.
It's just that he acted quicker because it was his people, I think. Just epic visuals as well.
Yeah. And they had said that the Inquisitors were supposed to be at the palace and were supposed to come in later, so he wasn't expecting an Inquisitor.
Absolutely not. And obviously the Inquisitor, they tracked them. Well done. Well played. They did it.
Mm-hmm. And the Inquisitor smiled.
God.
And there's a lot of POV switching in the rest of this chapter. So this is an action scene, very much.
Action-packed, yeah.
Damnation! Breeze swore as soldiers flooded the square. Dachshund pulled Breeze into an alley. Vin followed them in, crouching in the shadows, listening to soldiers yelling in the crossroads outside.
What?
Inquisitor, Breeze said, pointing toward a robed figure standing before Kelsier. What? Dachshund said, standing.
It's a trap.
Vin realized with horror. Soldiers began to pile into the square, appearing from hidden side streets.
Kelsier, get out of there!
Kelsier pushed off a fallen guard, throwing himself backward in a flip over one of the prison carts. He landed in a crouch, eyeing the new squads of soldiers. Many of them carried staves and wore no armor. Haze killers. The Inquisitor pushed himself through the ash-filled air, landing with a thump in front of Kelsier. The creature smiled. It's the same man, the Inquisitor from before. Where's the girl? The creature said quietly. Kelsier ignored the question. Okay, where's the girl?
This is all for her?
They want her unnaturally bad, right? Like, there is a significant reason. This isn't just they're on the trail of someone. And like, this is not just... the first thing
he says. Sorry,
yeah. No, exactly. Like, this is important. Vin is uniquely important. There is an obsession here that goes beyond their mere zealous adherence to the Lord Ruler's dictates.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think, okay, so I don't know what they're looking for, like what she is, but I mean, they could want Mistborn are used to create that you turn a Mistborn into an Inquisitor, right? Yeah. I don't know. I suppose they just, maybe they, I mean, it stands to reason you could say they would want her for that, but they want her way too much and way too badly and visibly for it to be just, oh, we want a female Inquisitor, we want to breed them and blah blah. None of that. It's more than that. I mean, that, like, the fact that it's the first thing that he says to Kelsier is quite telling.
Yeah. Kelsier ignored the question. Why only one of you? The creature's smile broadened. I won the draw. Kelsier flared pewter, dashing to the side as the Inquisitor pulled out a pair of obsidian axes. The square was quickly becoming clogged with soldiers. From inside the carts, he could hear people crying out. Kelsier!
Lord Kelsier!
Please! Kelsier cursed softly as the Inquisitor bore down on him. He reached out, pulling against one of the still full carts, and yanking himself into the air for a group of soldiers. He landed, then dashed to the cart, intending to free its occupants. As he arrived, however, the cart shook. Kelsier glanced up just in time to see a steel-eyed monster grinning down at him from atop the vehicle. Kelsier pushed himself backward, feeling the wind of an axe head swing past his face. He landed smoothly, but immediately had to jump to the side as a group of soldiers attacked. As he landed, he reached out, pulling against one of the carts to anchor himself, and pulled against the fallen iron door he had thrown before. The barred door lurched into the air and crashed through the squad of soldiers. The Inquisitor attacked from behind, but Kelsier jumped away. The still tumbling door careened across the cobblestones in front of him, and as he passed over it, Kelsier pushed, sending himself streaking into the air. Vin was right, Kelsier thought with frustration. The Inquisitor watched him, trailing him with unnatural eyes. I shouldn't have done this, Below, a group of soldiers rounded up the ska that he had freed. I should run, try to lose the Inquisitor. I've done it before. But he couldn't. He wouldn't, not this time. He had compromised too many times before. Even if it cost him everything else, he had to free those prisoners. And then, as he began to fall, he saw a group of men charging the crossroads. They bore weapons, but no uniforms. At their head ran a familiar form. Ham, so that's where you went. The army's here?
Yeah, at this, well, yeah, he found a cell of them and gathered them up. And they are ready to go. And maybe as others, we've spoken about this, maybe like as others see others rise up, that makes more rise up.
That's my expectation for the next chapter.
Yeah, but at this point, were you also like with the slow motion basically that's happening? I'm like, is this when Kelsier dies? Is this when he becomes the martyr for them?
What if Kelsier dies?
Yeah.
Look, I think it's possible. I think
it's not beyond. Yeah. I don't want it to happen by any means.
No.
But like, yeah, this is quite dire. Also, just out of nowhere, just hold on. Okay, remember I said we've got Chekhov's obsidian, okay? Because the way earlier, remember, Vin had very few possessions, and then she just had an obsidian thing that she got from her brother, or her mom, someone. I'm just from the family, like whether it was from her mom or her brother. Oh no, she had found it. No, he had given it to her. Yes, it was from Reen, and she took that with her. That might have some clue to. That might be some clue as to who her father might really be, because they're talking about this. This is the Prelin. This is the one that is her father. I don't know. Might be something to do with her bloodline or something like that. I don't know. The obsidian bit, I've not forgotten it. That's all I'm trying to say. So just when they reminded me of the axes, I was like, oh shit, yeah. I want to know.
I want to know.
Can you show me? Okay. What is it?
Vin asked anxiously, craning to see into the square. Above, Kelsier's form plunged back toward the fight, dark cloak trailing behind him. It's one of our soldier units. Ham must have fetched them.
How many?
We kept them in batches of a couple hundred.
So they'll be outnumbered.
Dockson nodded.
I'm going out.
No, you're not, Dockson said, firmly grabbing her cloak and pulling her back. I don't want a repeat of what happened to you last time you faced one of those monsters.
But
Kel will be fine. He'll just try to stall long enough for Ham to free the prisoners, then he'll run. Watch. Vin stepped back. To her side, Breeze was mumbling to himself. Yes, you're afraid. Let's focus on that. Soothe everything else away. Leave you terrified. That's an Inquisitor and a Mistborn fighting. You don't want to interfere with that. Vin glanced back toward the square where she saw a soldier drop his staff and flee.
There are other ways to fight,
she realized, kneeling beside Breeze.
How can I help?
I just really loved that.
Yeah, okay, Vin, you're in the moment. You've been sitting, you've stood stupidly for a while. I love that line. Sorry, it was really funny. You stood stupidly, like, and that's exactly it. You just like, you're stupefied. You're like, huh? So she's had her moment, and I was like, no, just get in there now, okay? And what happened? She had decided that you can't fight. Now that it's Kelsier, you must go and help. Now that it is a trap, you must go and help. So she's realizing, she's learning things about friendship, I suppose. It has to be certain people.
Yeah, she'll get there. She'll get there.
And I'm glad she can help. She's good and subtle, but that also means that she can be exposed. I don't know. Point is, yay for Allomancy, and it's many ways of being applied.
Look, I love a good support caster. I think they are very important. Kelsier ducked back from the Inquisitor again as Ham's unit crashed into the Imperial soldiers and began cutting its way toward the prisoner carts. The attack diverted the attention of the regular soldiers, who appeared all too happy to leave Kelsier and the Inquisitor to their solitary battle. To the side, Kelsier could see Ska beginning to clog the streets around the small courtyard, the fighting drawing the attention of those waiting up above at the fountain square. Kelsier could see other squads of Imperial soldiers trying to push their way toward the fight, but the thousands of Ska crowding the streets seriously slowed their progress.
Thank goodness! I was like, whew, okay, what are those Ska going to do? Like, these aren't Ska running away, but they're curious, I understand. I'm glad that they add to the mix of just making it impossible. They will probably get killed just by being there, but because there's so many of them, it does help.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. The Inquisitor swung and Kelsier dodged. The creature was obviously growing frustrated. To the side, a small group of Ham's men reached one of the carts and broke open its lock, freeing the prisoners. The rest of Ham's men kept the Imperial soldiers busy as the captives fled. Kelsier smiled, eyeing the annoyed Inquisitor. The creature growled quietly. "Follett!" a voice yelled. Now I'm like,
no.
Oh God.
This idiot. Like, also, because he's not an Alamancer at all, but he's just like, you know, you understand it, and I don't know, what were your feelings?
I just not annoyed, just this is
That's not good.
Do we need this right now? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe it is annoyed.
Yeah, it is. Do we need this right now? Because it's like, what is Vin gonna do? I think we've just gone from Vin. Now we're like, cool, we're focused on the fight, and then it's just like, then this guy, no, Philip. And like, he's just like, oh God. So you know Vin's watching this, and you're like, oh my gosh, we've just had to try and hold Vin back, and now what's gonna happen? And we know the Inquisitor's after the girl. So, and is it really just one Inquisitor?
I think it is, to be honest, but
I hope it is.
It's just, we don't need this distraction right now.
We don't. But like, but you know what? Look at him. He's like, I'm going to use my privilege over here. He's being, you know what? It's in character. He's being irrational because he cares about her. And I did notice that. I'm like, look, that's how much he cares about her.
Yeah, and that's nice. But also, does Elend know about the Pits of Hathsin yet? Because if, like, I have to imagine, were I Straff Venture, I would be running damage control right now. Like, I would be like DEFCON 5, DEFCON 6, DEFCON way above however high DEFCON goes. DEFCON 1, DEFCON. I don't know how DEFCON works, but I would be like, no one leaves our compound. I need to talk to the Lord Ruler. I need to smooth this over. No one in this house does a thing, makes a move. No one breathes until. So
I decide,
suddenly so suddenly having Elend here, it's like, okay, maybe House Venture doesn't know. Maybe they haven't received the news yet. Maybe they just think that this is some random execution.
I mean, also, so if they did know, and then there is this execution, noblemen have to attend it. Would it be smart for Venture to stay away then? Like, that would be quite.
But everyone has to come up.
Yeah.
Either
way.
Anyway, stuff to think about.
Stuff to think about. I don't know whether people know. I mean, it's been quite a long time, but I don't know if the news has spread to that many.
And it's logical to assume that the Lord Ruler would want to suppress the Adium information.
Yeah, exactly.
But if anyone's gonna know, it's gonna be House Venture. So Elend is just walking around freely in the day. I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, that's not me complaining. That's just me, like, wondering. Kelsier turned in shock. A well-dressed nobleman was pushing his way through the soldiers toward the center of the fighting. He carried a dueling cane and was protected by 2 beleaguered bodyguards, but he mostly avoided harm by virtue of neither side being certain of wanting to strike down a man of obvious noble blood. "Follett!" Elend Venture yelled again. He turned to one of the soldiers. "Who told you to raid House Renault's convoy? Who authorized this?" Great, Kelsier thought, keeping a wary eye on the Inquisitor. The creature regarded Kelsier with a twisted, hateful expression. You just go right on hating me, Kelsier thought. I only have to hang on long enough for Ham to free the prisoners. Then I can lead you away. The Inquisitor reached out and casually beheaded a fleeing servant as she ran by. Woo! Yeah.
He knows how to get him. Yeah, he just knows that. He's like, oh, okay, yo, you go on hating me. No. Yeah, I hate you. This is how I'm going to take it out on you. What you going to do about that, Kelsier? What you going to do?
No! Kelsier yelled as the corpse fell at the Inquisitor's feet. The creature grabbed another victim and raised its axe. All right! Kelsier said, striding forward, pulling a pair of vials from his sash. All right! You want to fight me? Come on! The creature smiled, pushing the captured woman aside and striding toward Kelsier. Kelsier flicked the corks off and downed both vials at once, then tossed them aside. Metals flared in his chest, burning alongside his rage. His brother dead. His wife dead. Family, friends, and heroes, all dead. You pushed me to seek revenge. Well, you shall have it. Kelsier stopped a few feet in front of the Inquisitor, fists clenched. He flared his steel in a massive push. Around him, people were thrown back by their metals as they were struck by the awesome, invisible wave of power. The square, packed with Imperial soldiers, prisoners, and rebels, opened up in a pocket around Kelsier and the Inquisitor. Let's do it, then!
Look, I'm a sucker for such moments, okay? I like that sort of, like, let's go. Like, it's epic. I'm here for it.
Anime showdown!
Like, yeah, exactly. It's like the music, everything. I'm just, it's cinematic. Yeah. Come on, Kelsier. Yeah. Okay, we have to get into that. We can't. Sorry. We have to. Yeah.
Okay.
It's impossible. Yeah.
Okay. Love this chapter. Thanks for tuning in. Someone recommended that we do next chapter as a blind read through, so we're going to go do that now. Subscribe to ThatDarnKitteh, by the way. Highly recommend it. She's doing Dune diagrams. Okay. We'll see you soon. Bye.